Right, happy Monday. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We'll begin with some news from West Palm Beach, Florida, where an armed man was shot and killed at Mar-a-Lago this weekend, in the immortal words of President Trump.
He died like a dog. He died like a coward.
You try to kill the president, you get pink misted. Also up in Canada, we're going to get to them in just a sec. The trans mass shooter in British Columbia had interactions apparently with ChatGPT prior to the attack. Now, the content was so troubling that OpenAI executives actually debated whether or not to contact the police, ultimately did not over privacy concerns. But Canadian officials are now summoning those executives. And in Mexico, the leader of the country's most violent cartel, CJNG, was killed by Mexican special forces, who were trained by team guys, by the way. The killing of El Mencho sparked violence throughout the country, and they even lit a Costco on fire as 25 Mexican National Guard troops were killed, in addition to other cartel members. We're going to have more on this later in the show. But first, goose down, eagle up, 2-1, and our maple syrup better than yours. Let's do this. USA, baby. In case you didn't realize, America took the last thing Canada thought they had on us, which is hockey, 2-1 in our favor on the 46th anniversary of Miracle on Ice. Folks, you know one of my favorite things to do is dunk on Canada because it's run by mostly ridiculous, idiot, virtue-signaling socialists. Trump calling the USA hockey team right after the game.
Your goalie played not bad.
Say hi to him.
How you doing, Don? I just told my people 2 minutes ago, I didn't know they'd be calling. I said, we're giving the State of the Union speech on Tuesday night. I could send a military plane or something. But if you would like to, it's the coolest night. It's the biggest.
We're in.
And the White House posting the most epic meme right after. This is Trudeau's comment just a few days ago. He said, "You can't take our country and you can't take our game," while his legs were crossed. I mean, really, the White House retweeting a single picture after the USA victory saying this. No words, just what we did to the Snow Mexicans. America's attic got nothing on our hockey team. Goose down, eagle up, baby. Like I said, our maple syrup is better than theirs. And that's all they had left, and we took it. I'm just going to point this out to Canada. If you had become the 51st state, you would also be sharing a gold medal in hockey right now. But instead, you decided to go play around with China, and now you lose. But I expect Canada to be pretty sour. Domestically, though, the whole response to the Olympics from the left has just been insane to me. I have come to realize that you're either American or Democrat, because the ultra not diverse American-hating Huffington Post the day before said, quote, "If you wave the American flag or chanting USA turns you off right now, you're not alone." You should be alone. In fact, you should die alone with 30 cats as a hoarder and be publicly shamed and hated for the rest of your life because you suck. Which is why the Huffington Post story probably only got like 1,500 likes. Probably just some fellow white dudes for Kamala, Brooklyn dwellers drinking like IPAs with their man buns and their capri pants. And to show you that that's not where America is, my new spirit animal, this guy, Jimmy's Famous Seafood, that Twitter account, who's we're going to have on in just a second, said pretty much the only appropriate response, which was, "Go F yourself." 13 million views as of this afternoon. Now, the Huffington Post is actually flying the gay pride flag at half-mast in honor of their own political death after that tweet. But this is how you respond to these people from now on. This is how you debate. And when they whine about civility and decorum, shut up. Don't crap on America. This is now the gold standard on how you treat people who hate being here in America. We are so done with this stuff. We beat Canada in hockey. You want to hate America? Well, look, I hear Mexico will take you. You can go down there, live in a lockdown hotel right now where the cartels are literally lighting cities on fire and spraying people down with gasoline at gas stations. Or you can go to the loser Canada with their 8% inflation. Or, just throwing this out there, you could stop hating our own country and we'd probably like you more. I've always been proud of America. I was proud under Bush, I was proud under Obama, and then Trump, and then Biden, and now Trump again. Because I'm not an insane liberal. You ever notice how almost all the American athletes that trashed America at this past Olympics, most of them, almost all of them got trounced. And then you got this dude, Jack Hughes, man, with his tooth knocked out, happy as a pig in mud, holding the American flag as high as he can, pounding beers with the head of the FBI after scoring the winning goal. This is America. This is how it's done. Hey, that dude, welcome to hero status, pal. That's eternity right there. You want to win? Stop being little ninny with your virtue signaling, smug, condescending attitudes. And athletes just proudly play the sport for which the country that sent you there. You might actually win something. Please take note of this. The libs, again, on the wrong side of like 90-10 issues. They're all crying because we gave the Huffington Post the finger. Really? The MAGA's so mean. How about you just be proud of the country that gives you all the opportunities that you have to spew, at times, your irrelevant and sanctimonious scorn for winning? How about them apples? But this miserable woman who wrote that, Monica Torres, in the Huffington Post, in between writing about that, this is who she is. This is not a joke. This is her headline for one of her other pieces right before. Recording ICE's violent tactics is more important than ever. Here's how to do it safely. Gee, thanks. These are the people who hate America because we won a gold medal, because Trump supporters were happy. That's literally what it is. Oh, Trump people are happy? Can't have that. Maybe she should move to the losing side up north. We'll trade her for Alberta. How does that sound? Meanwhile, you know who did celebrate America? Our FBI director, Kash Patel. Yeah, that's what testosterone looks like. I know that's not familiar with most liberals. And they're like, why is the FBI director chugging a beer? Because he's a hockey fan, he loves America, and he was in the moment with testosterone. Sorry, not sorry. I wish he would probably arrest someone like Rumler for sharing insensitive information about Epstein. But I'm super okay with the guy going over there and celebrating with our hockey. At least this FBI director is proud that he's American, rather than someone who hated it like the last few directors who funneled a fake dossier in to spy on the president. Just saying. But if you have a problem with Kash Patel pounding a beer while wearing one of the hockey players' gold medals, and you didn't have a problem with a dude wearing fake boobs and shirtless at the White House with gay pride flags everywhere, people hanging off airplanes leaving Afghanistan while 13 Marines were killed, gay sex in the Senate briefing room, our nuclear waste disposal program being run by a cross-dressing luggage bandit, illegally raiding the former president's house, did any of those same people complain about those things? Did they have a problem when the FBI spied on Trump while he was president? No. If you don't have a problem with those things, and you did have a problem with Kash, then you're the problem. But when Kash gets back, Pam Bondi, if you could just hand him over some indictments to go arrest some people, that would be great. But again, on the record, to be clear, I'm totally fine with him going over there and chugging beers with the American winning hockey team. Unlike Keith Olbermann, who had the sads that the White House loves eagles, the national bird. It's the funniest thing ever, though. If participation trophy was a person, the new guy over there in Canada, Mark Carney, congratulations on a hard-fought, well-earned silver at Team Canada. You make our country so proud. If you ain't first, you're last, baby. The only thing Canada is in first place in right now is like inflation and taxes. I guess they win at gun confiscation and probably medically assisted suicides too, so we'll mail you some medals for that. But apparently, Canada wants credit for showing their work, with one of their players saying, quote, "You be the judge of who was the better team today." I'm not a hockey expert, but I'm pretty sure it's decided by who put that little black rubber disc thing in the net more times than the other people, which would be us. That's how you decide. Folks, the reason I'm having such a good time with this, and I'm wearing my eagle tie today, it's awesome, because America rocks, and we won, and it should be celebrated. And I would be a good sport and not spike the football, proverbially, as much, if Canada hadn't been such a terrible neighbor and a partner for us over the last year because they hate Trump. We could have a really great relationship. Canada needs us more than we need them. There's literally nothing I need from Canada that I can't get anywhere else. I have my own sawmill, so I don't need their trees. I can see the Niagara Falls from the American side. But Canada needs us, and we would welcome them with open arms if they would stop being such snooty, controlling libs. One of my best friends is from Canada. Him and his wife just became citizens in time to vote for Trump in 2024. It's like the proudest day of this guy's life. Look at him right there. He actually came from Canada. My boy G was decked out during this whole game. He went to the ice rink to pay tribute before the game. He was all decked out in America. We're still working on getting his wife fully Americanized, but there's room there, okay? And if she's not an American flag and garb for the next game, maybe we'll just call Tom home and see what happens from there, but baby steps. Look, in all seriousness, folks, loving America is great. It's fun, and we should celebrate it. This is my problem with the left. They're just miserable about everything. Like, oh, you're having fun? Nope, got to tear that down, force you to make it more diverse, more gay, and more gender balanced, or some weird stuff like that. Meanwhile, most of us, like the most of the country, and almost exclusively Republicans, we're just like happy to be here on this side of the dirt and beating Canada in hockey. So just let us have it. Owner of Jimmy's Famous Seafood, home to what are widely regarded as the world's best crab cakes, and a proud American patriot, and John Minadakis, did I say that right? Close enough. Sports and political commentator TJ Moe. All right, John, you put out this post. It goes absolutely viral. It is literally the only appropriate response to the Huffington Post, I think.
Yeah, short and sweet, right to the point, especially when yesterday of all days. Not going to sit here and go back and forth. We won the gold. Here's my 3 words for you. God bless America.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's gone viral. I love it. TJ, though, this is like sports should be the one that you're a sports commentator. You should just own this stuff. Like this, we should have fun with it.
Yeah, look, I don't know why the liberals gave us the monopoly on loving America. I haven't figured that out yet. I don't know if anybody does. But it doesn't take much, right? We see Alyssa Liu. She's a bisexual woke leftist. All it took for all of America to embrace her was for her to love America. That's it. We actually don't care that much about these athletes' opinions. It turns out it's only when they try to shove it down our throats that we become disinterested and begin to hate them. That is my big problem. It doesn't take a whole lot. We saw that with Team USA Hockey. Immediately, you just showed it in your wonderful monologue. As soon as President Trump got on the phone, the entire team embraced him. Okay, that, by the way, is, I think, normal. I spent a lot of time in locker rooms, play college football at the University of Missouri. That is the normal baseline reality. It is the media who have largely taken, and they do this primarily to black players, they try to pressure them into hating Trump. They say, Trump's a racist. How could you possibly support him? He hates your community, right? And then all the white guys are like, well, I can't leave my black teammates hanging out to dry, so I also have to
kneel or whatever.
There's none of that. Yes.
Yeah.
So instead, you didn't have that. There are no black players on the team.
Yeah.
This was an all-white team, and they didn't have any of those pressures from the media. Nobody's asking them why does Trump hate your community? So they got to embrace him and said, we'll be there tomorrow at the State of the Union. Can't wait to do it.
Great. It's a real honor. The other thing, too, is as I'm looking at this stuff, John, I'm going back to your profile. As someone who's also been blocked by PETA, which is a proud moment in my life, you have tussled with PETA in the past, too. Tell us a little bit about that.
Gosh, PETA came to Baltimore a few years ago, and they were encouraging Baltimoreans and Marylanders in general to see the individual, as they called it, and stop eating crabs. And anybody who's ever been to Maryland knows we have a deep love, almost obsession with the crabbing industry, and everybody loves crabs here. And they put a big billboard up right by the restaurant, and we fought back. There it is right there, steamed crab. And it was the beginning of World War III, honestly. They called in their big guns. We weren't backing down until they left town. So it's something that we still take a lot of pride in and look back on fondly. Yeah. It was a turning point in the history of our brand, for sure.
It's so funny to me because all those Humane Society, actually PETA and Humane Society is the #1 person putting down dogs right now. It's actually the irony of it is they take these dogs in and then they actually put them down. So they don't actually practice what they preach. TJ, the other thing too, Kash Patel obviously celebrating this huge win. And apparently that's where the libs draw the line. But Don Lemon absolutely losing his mind. Roll this.
Even there. And most likely on taxpayer dollars. Well, yes, of course on taxpayer dollars. You guys are you have no class. You're trashy. It's disgusting.
No class. They spent $55 million paying Robert Mueller, the former FBI director, to investigate something that they knew was false, that was made up by called a Russian dossier. Don't talk about wasting money.
Yeah, shouldn't Don be in jail somewhere after raiding a church?
Yeah.
I think that is where he belongs. Look, the leftists have come out, as we all expected. Everybody predicted it, but all of the usual suspects came out. Keith Olbermann came out calling immediately for everybody to refuse the invitation to the White House. We saw that first tweet. And then, of course, Jamel Hill came out and said, how do you represent a country that doesn't presently represent you? My column for The Atlantic. Okay, so the usual idiots are out in full force.
Yeah.
I just think the rest of America's over it.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that much to love America. It really doesn't. And look at the response when you do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun. It's awesome to shoot fireworks in the sky and like love freedom, maybe see a low flying bald eagle. Look, I'm in. All right, John, TJ, we appreciate it very much. Obviously, go Jimmy's Seafood. Fantastic. Hit it up if you're in the area. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
They love America. All right, coming up, Gavin Newsom failed attempt at relating to the black community. This is hilarious. So funny. But first, check this stuff out. All right, another arrest made in the Epstein probe, but of course it wasn't here in the U.S. when we are going to start putting some of these people in cuffs. On our side of the pond, Congresswoman Nancy Mace is going to join us live next.
You served your country with honor. Now get the benefits you've rightfully earned. Paul R. Lawrence has written the book every veteran should own, Veterans Benefits for You. This step-by-step guide breaks down what you need to know, from financial compensation and disabilities to information for dependents and parents. This book is a must-read for all servicemen and women. Get your free copy today with our special offer. Call the number on your screen or go online to order.
Power of disease.
15 million dogs and counting know. Simparica Trio offers triple protection against heartworm disease, ticks and fleas, and intestinal worms, all with one monthly chew. This drug class has been associated with neurologic side effects, including seizures. Use with caution in dogs with or without a history of these disorders. Don't just protect, triple protect.
Super Beats by Human just got an upgrade. Introducing our bold new packaging. Same science, same trusted results. Founded in partnership with the University of Texas. This is modern cardiovascular support. Only human.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Mac.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, and they're gonna love it.
Former UK ambassador to the U.S., Peter Mandelson, was arrested by London police today on the same charge as, obviously, the former prince, suspicion of misconduct in public office. Heard that before. This all comes down about a little while after the DOJ released all these things with the relationship with him and Jeffrey Epstein, and they were actually closer, a lot closer than we publicly knew before. Mandelson had shared information with Epstein while he was in the government, much like Kathy Rumler when she was the White House counsel for Barack Obama. Peter Mandelson is also one of the many moguls on that long list who stepped down from their positions due to their ties to the Epstein files and a recent batch from the DOJ. Zero Hedge, thankfully, is keeping a list for us. We got Thomas Pritzker, the relative of J.B. Pritzker, resigned as executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels. You got Kathy Rumler stepping down from Goldman Sachs. Sultan Ahmed Ben Salman resigned as chairman of the CEO of the DP World, and Brad Karp left his post as the chairman of Paul Weiss. Mona Jewell resigned from her role as Norwegian ambassador. Peter Mandelson now, obviously, we just told you. Muriel, I don't know what that guy's name is, but he's some foreign guy. He stepped down, so we don't have to worry about it anymore. Jack Lang resigned as the head of the Arab World Institute. David Ross stepped down as the department chair of the School of Visual Arts, if that's even a thing. Peter Attia, the health coach with the new CBS contract and all over the Epstein files, just stepped aside from CBS today. But the UK has put 2 people in cuffs now, and we've arrested approximately, give or take, I'm rounding down here, 0. South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who had just had a meeting with the Oversight Committee regarding the Clintons' deposition. Congresswoman, are we going to see some people in bracelets or what?
Well, one would like to think so. I highly doubt it, though. I have lost all confidence in America's justice system. We've seen the UK do in a few days what the U.S. has had for 2 decades, basically. They've had all this information. They've been sitting on it. I think it's because Epstein was an asset of the CIA and possibly a dual agent for other countries as well. But we're not doing anything about it. We're just sort of brushing it under the rug. And this doesn't stop until people get arrested in the United States.
Yeah, well, that's actually the most shocking thing, is the possibility of him being an asset of the government, which is like, well, what were they doing? You know, they had to have known what this guy was doing, and was he doing it to blackmail people? We know that, you know, Ehud Barak, the former PM of Israel, was conversing with him about career counseling. Like, there's crazy stuff. Kathy Rumler, the former White House counsel under Barack Obama, was sharing sensitive information with him.
And he brags about being in a skiff. He brags about, or questions a CIA data dump or something in some of the emails. I also want to know, was he paid by the U.S. government for any of the files that he had on any foreign leaders or dignitaries or former presidents and prime ministers and princes? What was he paid for that, if anything?
Yeah, well, that's another thing, which you would think would be easy to follow the money, but, you know, with this government stuff. But crowdsourcing obviously is the biggest help in all this stuff. And we found one that Epstein actually kind of like admits to his own allegations here. In 2018, Epstein receives an email from someone named Masha saying Katya has a law firm, corporate law. She can understand blockchain regulations and ecosystem as well. Azalea's firm is a film director. She's working on human rights VR movie. Alexandra is an actress, an art expert, has business deals. All of them are smart, high energy, and great. To which Epstein responds, your friend Azalea told me about the project she's doing, researching really bad guy that gets children for sex sent to his island. She almost fainted when I told her that person is me. Let's round up the people that were talking to him.
Right. We need to round them up, and we need to know why they were given immunity or why they weren't prosecuted, why the federal charges were dropped. If it's not going to happen at the DOJ, it needs to happen on the Oversight Committee. And I am assembling a list of people that I want to bring in and testify and or be investigated to get answers. We will be with the Clintons later this week, the Oversight Committee, Republicans and Democrats alike. And I think it's less about, you know, the woman in the hot tub. That's important. But why was this? What was this power relationship between the haves and the have-nots? Why were these billionaires hanging out with a convicted pedophile? What did they get out of it? And I think it's much bigger than anything we've ever talked about before.
Yeah. Here's the other thing that really goes. It's almost like we called this a while back. But J.P. Morgan, obviously, on Friday, they admit for the first time that they cut off more than 50 Trump accounts in February of 2021. Like Trump's been saying all along that they told him was a hoax, but it actually is true. But now a bank spokesman said that that's, as a rule, J.P. Morgan obviously closed the accounts, quote, because they create legal or regulatory risk for the company. So I'm thinking to myself, if Trump had his accounts canceled, why the hell was J.P. Morgan Chase totally fine being involved with Epstein for like processing like $1 billion of transactions?
And those transactions were likely flagged by the Treasury. I'm sure that I would assume that they were aware of that. They were probably also aware of the financial transactions like alleged Ponzi schemes that Epstein was involved with. And it wasn't just sex trafficking. I believe there was financial issues that are happening with billionaires all around the world. I'm sure they had to know something about that through all of this, too. And they just ignored it like everybody else. A convicted pedophile, who cares? We're still going to do business with them. It's nuts. It's insane. No, it's insane. Well, Congresswoman Nancy Mace, I really appreciate you fighting for this stuff, and I hope we get to the bottom of this. So thank you. I sure will, Carl. Thank you.
Also, I hear your mom's a big fan. Tell her I said thank you for watching.
Huge fan.
Well,
She's going to love this. Thank you.
All right, coming up, Maryland sheriffs are outsmarting woke sanctuary law, defying Governor Moore's ICE ban with street-smart workarounds, keeping criminals off our streets. 2 Maryland sheriffs who are giving him the finger. Sound off next.
Information. truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
No way this all fits.
Watch me.
Oh, we're watching, Gary. They're right. We need WeatherTech.
I thought they only make floor liners and cargo liners.
Really, Gary? Really, Gary? Who do you think made the seat protector, side window deflectors, no-drill mud flaps?
And the cup foam.
And I just ordered WeatherTech's newest products. Ta-da!
Hitch Basket makes for easy loading of heavy and bulky gear and increased storage capacity with a roof basket up top. Buy American at WT.com.
WeatherTech for the win.
Your Florida life is calling, and we have the answer. Valencia in Florida by GL Homes. Premium 55-plus living in 5 prime Florida locations. Gorgeous new homes from the mid-300s to $2.5 million. World-class resort-style living 24/7. Huge clubhouses, on-site dining, pickleball, and more. Effortless, low-maintenance living. Valencia, your Florida life is calling. Experience more at valenciaflorida.com.
Nobody knows Corvettes like McMulkin Chevrolet, the world's largest Corvette dealer for 5 consecutive years. Set apart by its name alone, Corvette delivers a legacy of American craftsmanship, and a vehicle that sets the bar for performance cars deserves a buying experience that beats it. With hundreds of Corvettes in stock and ready for immediate delivery nationwide, it's no wonder Corvette enthusiasts from across the USA keep coming back to McMulkin Chevrolet.
Whoa, 90% off? I have to purchase now. My phone!
That was a scam link.
Try this one. We installed PCmatic.
PCmatic blocks ransomware before threats can strike.
It's 100% made in America security.
Trusted by homes, businesses, governments, and now you. Stop guessing.
Start blocking.
Get PCmatic.
Total Beats, America's best-selling Beats brand, is available at Walmart. Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews contain a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. Take control of your health. Head to Walmart and get Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews today.
Hold the line, own the libs. Maryland sheriffs are fighting back and winning for law-abiding Americans, actually, weirdly enough, because the Democrats won't do it. After their woke governor, Wes Moore, signed a disastrous bill banning local sheriffs from partnering with ICE, basically handing a free pass to criminal aliens to do whatever they want. A few American sheriffs said, yeah, not in my district. 9 counties are already plotting smart and legal workarounds, sharing intel, honoring detainers, and keeping dangerous criminals off the street, and telling Wes Moore to pound sand, well, without breaking the law, which is nice. Sheriffs are absolutely done playing these stupid games when people's lives are at risk, okay? Hartford County, Maryland Sheriff Jeffrey Gahler and Frederick County, Maryland Sheriff Chuck Jenkins. All right, so Chuck, we'll go to you first on this. I love the fact that you're like, dude, there's laws, and you can't outlaw the federal law, and also people are dying from this.
Yeah, so what the governor has done is basically made Maryland unsafe, a criminal haven, if you will, for illegals in this country to commit crimes. And we've had the longest tenured 287G program of 18 years. It's been effective. It's worked well. We've removed criminals off of our streets legally in working with ICE. And when this law passed, now we have to figure out a way to still cooperate without breaking the law.
Yeah, well, Jeffrey, the problem with this is like it's become so politicized. At the point, it's like these are people, they're in jail. You should be able to turn them over to ICE.
1,000%. I modeled my 287G program after Sheriff Jenkins. As he said, he has the longest one in the country. We modeled ours. It's a public safety program, Public Safety 101. You take a person who's committed a crime in a local jurisdiction, you screen them, see if they're in the country legally, and if they're not, report that to ICE. A great partnership, a great public safety thing, and the Maryland government wants to throw that out the window. We're going to find ways to still cooperate. And, to the governor, although I don't think he's sincere, he put it in his comments related to his lack of a veto. We called for a veto to his signing the bill, that he wants us to cooperate with ICE. I don't think he is sincere in any way in those comments, and there's more legislation coming in Maryland to try to stop us.
Yeah, no, it's funny that this is the same state that wanted people report their neighbors for not wearing a mask or having more than 7 people at their house during COVID, but you can't dime out an illegal alien. The other thing, too, here, Sheriff Jenkins, is just ahead of the State of the Union, President Trump obviously honored the families of Lake and Riley and a ton of other victims of crimes by illegal immigrants, declaring it Angel Family Day. But the left actually had a problem with this, and I'm thinking, that's the disconnect. It's not even, it's just pure derangement.
Sure they do. They've got a problem. I've been to some of those Angel Family events, and it's very sad to see that Americans are being victims. They're being raped, murdered, sexually assaulted by people who shouldn't even be in the country. You can say dozens of names, but you never hear a Democrat name one of those names. It's always looking out for the illegals.
Yeah, no, it is. And I see why your people actually have you as their sheriff, because you seem to have this all figured out. Real quick, Sheriff Gahler, Trump was obviously quick to slam the Democrats for the fake news for not wanting to talk about this issue, but roll this.
We're willing to tell the story, and that I don't know why the news doesn't want to hear it. The Democrats don't want to hear it. The radical left, they don't want to hear it. What's not to hear? We want to stop murderers and criminals from coming into our country. I watched the mayor of Minneapolis. I watched these people saying, we want to protect murderers. I don't get it. Something's sick. They're sick. Can't have a country like that. So we appreciate the bravery of everybody in this room.
And obviously sometimes we enjoy the luxury of the president watching this show. If you had to say something to him about, anything that you need over there, what would it be?
Well, we absolutely need support.
Sorry, Sheriff Gahler.
Yeah, both Kayla Hamilton and Rachel Morin died in my county. The victims of this government's, the past administration's betrayal to the American people, an open border. And then we have a president now who has secured the border. And now we need more federal support where states like Maryland that would rather, Governor Moore didn't bother calling Patty Morin, Rachel's mom, didn't care about Tammy Noble's, Kayla Hamilton's mother. He just, passed this legislation. We need the government to, deal with the federal government to deal with these sanctuary jurisdictions to keep our population safe, our citizens safe.
Yeah. Well, both you sheriffs, if you ever need a deputy, I'm ready, willing, and able. We appreciate both of you.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, the left calls voter ID Jim Crow 2.0, but apparently requiring an ID to shovel snow in New York. A-OK by the eyes of the socialist here, the immigrant from Uganda. All that and more in our Culture Clash next.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched to Newsmax.
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 Have you made the switch?
You bet I did. My whole family switched.
Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
You moved in. You nested.
Hey, what are you doing?
You partied. You cuddled. You made egg rolls. You slept in. Or tried to. And you kept growing. Now it's time for the next chapter. With Open Door, get an all-cash offer for your home in 24 hours. Because saying goodbye should be the hardest part. Move into your future with Open Door.
Muscle cramps were keeping me up at night, so then I tried Slowmag, the magnesium plus calcium supplement that helps relax tense muscles so I can rest comfortably. And Slowmag tablets have a slow-release formula that's gentle on my stomach. That's why I use Slowmag.
The crisis inside Ukraine has reached a catastrophic level, with the elderly Jews pushed to the very limit.
Go inside. She's freezing cold. There's no electricity, no heat, no water. Winter is now a weapon of war, used against the elderly, the mothers, and the young children.
They've been lined up here for hours.
These are precious people who are hungry, and they have nothing. If someone doesn't do something soon, a humanitarian disaster is coming. So many Jewish people who are just waiting for someone to care enough to pick up the phone.
Fears are growing that without an emergency, full-scale response, thousands will die this winter.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews needs your $25 gift now to help rush a winter survival food box of emergency food for elderly Jews and families in Ukraine. Time is critical. Please give now.
They felt the shaking of missiles. These are people who have already endured so much suffering and disaster.
The fellowship has been here and across the former Soviet Union for decades, but the need has never been more urgent.
Taking out power, taking out water, simple water to drink. We're talking about the difference between life or death. Christian, Jew, standing shoulder to shoulder, saying, we're here to heal, we're here to help.
Your gift of only $25 helps rush a winter survival food box filled with life-saving emergency food for elderly Jews and families in Ukraine who are struggling daily to stay warm and fed. Please call or go online while there is still time.
One of my favorite supplements is Cunol Turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support, and Cunol has the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. Cunol, the brand I trust.
This isn't your average pill. This is Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks is a fast-acting solution because it dissolves under your tongue. Rose Sparks. Guys, get started today.
Connect with a provider to find out if Rose Sparks are right for you.
Oh, the irony. New York City Zoran Kwame Mamdani is urging residents across the city to step up as this major folks, it was a lot of, it was like 30 inches of snow in and around New York City, which is, I think it's hilarious, but he wants them to volunteer, maybe even get paid to help emergency snow shovel during the storm. But there's a catch. To register, you need 2 forms of ID plus a copy of your social security number. So as Democrats have told us that ID requirements, for everything would keep women and minorities from being able to vote, but they need it to shovel. So I guess he doesn't want women and minorities shoveling snow. This is what happens when you have somebody from Uganda in charge of snow removal. But this was Mamdani's response to being asked about these requirements. Roll it.
Federal law requires that employers get authorization and documentation to pay people for their work. We are not allowed to just cut checks to individuals for their work.
And we're not allowed to just register people to vote with no checks. Anyway, political commentator Michelle Backus and campus reform reporter Emily Sturge. Emily, this is like the dumbest thing in the world.
Well, the smiling socialist has been quite the flip-flopper so far, okay? We've got ID was racist, and now it's not. But then also, he said he was going to tax the wealthiest individuals, and now New Yorkers are all facing a 9.5% increase on their property taxes. And I want to be clear, the tax the rich thing is out the window, okay? That's going to affect homeowners of average household incomes of $120,000 a year. This man has already flip-flopped on quite a few of his campaign promises, and it's not looking too great for New Yorkers.
No, it's not. But Michelle, Mamdani may have learned his lesson, though, after receiving backlash and being called the fun police from the last snowstorm. He had a full snow day, and I was like, wow, okay, at least he did one thing right. That puts him at notch 1.
I find this so funny because it's so clear that he's trying to appease the children now. But look, Mamdani is desperate. This is what happens when you elect someone who's never had an actual job before into office, and now he's representing the city of New York. And we look at the hypocrisy with Mamdani. The snow shovel is just rich, to be fair. That should be if Saturday Night Live does not make that one of their episodes, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm writing in.
It's so funny. Anyway, AOC, Emily, this is so funny. AOC doubling down. Remember, she was in Munich and she just completely embarrassed herself with like a 27-second pause and word salad. Roll this as her response.
If you think that I don't understand foreign policy because out of hours of discourse about international affairs, I pause to think, about one of the most sensitive geopolitical issues that currently exist on Earth, I'm afraid the issue's not my understanding, but rather the problem is perhaps you've gotten adjusted to a president that never thinks before he speaks.
Yeah, we're the problem. She's the intelligent one. She has a business degree from Boston, and she's a socialist. She's the only server in America that brings nothing to the table.
Well, this video is exactly why I get so frustrated as a young woman when the media and Hollywood and celebrities all tell me that I'm somehow supposed to support women like AOC or Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton, even Jasmine Crockett, just because they're women. And no, this woman does not represent me. She came to the table unprepared and unprofessional. Heck, they're snoring in the background of that video. She went to a security conference and was flabbergasted when she got asked a question about security. No, these women do not represent me. And in a world of AOCs, I'd much rather be a Caroline Leavitt.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad. Michelle, Democrats completely unhinged, though. The hatred for Donald Trump is amazing. It's like it's broken something in their brain. Now, Maxine Dexter is now calling the Maha campaign. She wants everybody to drink milk. And get this, apparently that's white supremacy dog whistling. Roll this.
Please ask for the science-based regimens, not whatever RFK Jr. is getting kickbacks on, or whatever whole milk, white supremacy dog whistling that's happening right now.
Oh, drinking milk, which every baby does to sustain life, is white supremacy.
So is every single baby a white supremacist? I mean,
Yeah.
That's the question we should be asking now. All of these babies clearly need punished. It's getting so desperate. They're grasping at straws. But what's great about this new era is that used to work back in 2020, to say that someone was a white supremacist, that you're racist. Now, because it's so saturated, because the Democrats overuse the phrase, now it's laughable. Again, here's another idea for Saturday Night Live. If they had any idea what they were doing, we're giving them free comedy sketches.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Emily, the other thing, too, is the Democrats have done this with everything. They've just beaten a dead horse on everything. Oh, you're racist, sexist, istophobic, phobophobe. And now it's like climate change. Climate change is the new thing where they're trying to do this massive repair on the notion that, like, we have to repair the image of climate. It's like climate change is not real.
I'm actually not shocked by this story at all, because as a reporter on the higher education system over at Campus Reform, I can tell you that for years, I've been reporting that math is somehow racist. Standards in the classroom are somehow racist. There was a university writing center that said it was white supremacist. Standard American English is white supremacist, and that it's racist to grade students based on their writing. It's not shocking to me at all. And you know what? It's 2026. I think it's time that we stop judging people and milk by their color.
Yeah, exactly. We also live in a country, I think it's almost 20% of the nation believes that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. So we've got an uphill battle. Michelle, Emily, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
All right, folks, I got an update for you. About 2 weeks ago, we partnered with a nonprofit called Under One Flag, and I announced this. The weekend of March 21st, we are looking for one lucky veteran to accompany me to the Rockin' DK Ranch in West Texas to go for a hunt. Well, after literally hundreds and hundreds of applications, I'm happy to announce that we've narrowed it down to 3 veterans, and the winner will be announced next week to go on a hunt with me down there. Go to underoneflag.org, and you can find out more about the charity. It's a great, great network. Coming up, Gavin Newsom tries to relate to the black community, and it's actually hilarious. Next.
Got eyelid itching, crusties, and swelling that won't go away? It could be
Demodex blepharitis, and we're Demodex mites. We're very common and super irritating to your eyelids, but we love making ourselves comfortable here. Oh yeah, steam time!
If Demodex mites are partying it up on your eyelids, it's time to eliminate the root of the problem with Xdemvy. With 1 drop in each eye twice a day, you can kill the mites in just 6 weeks. Xdemvy is the first and only FDA-approved treatment that kills the mites that cause Demodex blepharitis, a common eyelid disease. Avoid touching the tip of the bottle to your eye or other surfaces to minimize contamination. Wait 15 minutes before inserting contact lenses. In clinical trials, the most common side effects were stinging and burning in 1 out of 10 patients.
Party's over, folks.
It's not you, it's Demodex mites. Talk to your eye doctor today.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's high absorption magnesium glycinate helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Since leaving the gold standard, the U.S. dollar has lost almost 90% of its value. Meanwhile, global central banks are buying up gold at unprecedented rates. Join the many Americans who are returning to gold to store their wealth. That's why we've created the ultimate gold buying guide, and we'll ship it right to your door free of charge. Call Texas Bullion Exchange today or visit gettexasgold.com for your free gold buying guide while supplies last.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and they're gonna love it.
1 in 4 taxpayers was a victim of identity theft.
Like me.
That's 1 in 4 hardworking, honest Americans who lost billions in refunds. During tax season, everyone is vulnerable.
We're not just tax-paying Americans.
We're fraud-paying Americans.
And we're not paying anymore.
With up to $3 million in coverage, LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back.
When we became parents, everything changed, especially our perspective on food.
On our path to find healthier products, we started Good Ranchers.
To connect families with 100% American-born, raised, and harvested meats.
Quality beef, pork, chicken, and wild-caught seafood delivered to your door.
Because we want the best for our family and yours when gathering at the dinner table. Visit goodranchers.com and discover American meat delivered.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech.
Maybe just that guy shouldn't be running for president. Not that smart, can't read. Why, how are you a governor? Maybe that's why your state is in such debt. Host of Savage Nation, Michael Savage himself. Sir, that's your boy. That's your governor.
Well, I was the second guest on his podcast.
That must have been painful.
I've known him for 30 years.
Sorry.
I don't understand who's advising him, but is he making one mistake after another? First of all, by pandering to black people like this unto itself, to educated black people, it's kind of icky, disgusting, and stuff. But it's an insult to non-dyslexic black folks, what he said. That's tongue-in-cheek, by the way. He's saying a 960 SAT guy means all blacks are only doing 960 on SATs. You know, if a white man had said that, what would have happened? Carl, you know what would have happened. It would have been the end of that person's career. So now he goes on. One of your assistants, I think you're going to play the soundbite of what he just said, right?
Yeah. He went even further than that. But listen to this. Real Clear Politics reporter Susan Crabtree reached out to Newsom's office asking for the paperwork related to his dyslexia diagnosis. The comms team replied respectfully, F off. I mean, what?
They're not ready for prime time. This is amateur hour. These are stupid people. Look, the fact of the matter is Newsom's team had a good run here in California where they literally owned the press, lock, stock, and barrel. Mm-hmm. On the national level, this team is not ready for prime time. It's that simple. And that's a good thing for us, because that way we're liable to win the election despite what's going on in this country and the world right now. So, no, I think he's actually disqualifying himself to run for the presidency. And what's shocking is that they would say a thing like that. As I said, he interviewed me for his podcast, and he did have notes, incidentally. You could run the podcast. Anyone listening to your show can go back and look at the podcast with Gavin Newsom on his own podcast. Charlie Kirk was first. Yeah. I was second. He was reading from a huge list of notes in the interview. What do you mean he can't read? I don't understand this.
So stupid. But here's the other thing. Here's another gem out of California. The gubernatorial candidate, Katie Porter, pretty much sums up the Democrat Party and where they become.
Simple, powerful
message that we can all agree on. Say it with me. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's right. Trump.
I've never seen anything like this. This is incomprehensible. This is the same Katie Porter who threw an assistant out of the shot. She said, "Get out of my shot." Remember, she was filming something?
Yeah.
And one of her assistants dared walk by in the background.
To help her.
She's a nightmare, but she actually represents liberalism as a mental disorder, which was written by someone in 2005. This woman is clearly mentally disordered. And in my day, she would have been given major medication and a straitjacket and put in a back ward.
And a treadmill. More scandal coming out of Los Angeles, obviously, where a confidential memo from the LA Fire Department came out. And basically, to protect Karen Bass, they wanted to protect people from reputational harm because the fires were handled so badly.
I mean, I could comment right off the bat. I thought you were going to play the soundbite.
No.
Karen Bass is a Castro radical from the 70s. She organized for revolutionaries in Cuba. And like the novel Animal Farm taught us, these revolutionaries always end up in the same state of affairs, which is some are more equal than others. And they'll use all the talking points about equality and justice, but we all know it's just fluff to hoodwink the gullible out there, Carl.
Oh, it's absolutely the worst. All right, something that I know that you are hot on. Check this out. Times Square, Friday, massive Muslim call for prayer in the heart of New York City. Roll it.
Oh, don't scare them, brothers. Relax. They're over here on purpose to be like, oh my God. Who's seen those videos where they're like, oh my God, the Muslims are taking over New York City? You seen those? You seen those? Let them know that we are taking over New York City. Takbir!
We're taking over New York City.
It looks like Iraq to me, and it's totally illegal. We live in a nation where there is a separation of church and state, as anyone listening to the show should know, and no religious group has ever taken over a city like this before, because that's what these people always do. They don't come here for equality. They come here to take over a nation. And unless we stand up to this juggernaut, we're going to all be rolled over by it.
Yeah, they can, you know what?
You fought with them. You fought with them in Iraq. You know what they're like.
I fought against them, too. Like, I mean, these people, I just noticed everywhere, Michael, that everywhere they go, they scream minority rights. But anytime any other person goes to a Muslim country, there are no minority rights.
Of course not. That's what their religion of peace teaches. But this is a very serious issue, Carl. You know as well as anyone on this planet that this is not just a simple prayer session. This is a show of force.
It is.
It's illegal. It's illegal. Again, I have to repeat, separation of church and state.
Yeah.
You know, I thought about that just quickly. I know you got to run.
Well, I got to leave you right there. We're out of time, but you were absolutely right. I think we should relook at the legality of all this stuff. Is it even a religion itself? We'll have you back on this too. Be sure to check out Savage Nation right here on Newsmax Sundays, 8 p.m. Before we go, Germany doesn't want them. Neither does Syria. We're going to tell you what next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
As a cardiologist, when I put my patients on a statin to reduce cholesterol, I also tell them it can deplete their CoQ10 levels. I recommend taking Cunol CoQ10. Cunol has 3 times better absorption than regular CoQ10. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Why go on Roe? Because 1 in 4 guys.
1 in 4 guys.
1 in 4 guys experience ED. On Roe, ED feels like no big deal. Connect with a provider to find treatment that could be right for you. 100% online.
Roe designed or curated treatments to make ED feel less stressful. There are options to fit every need, like fast-acting dissolvables or daily gummies. If 1 in 4 guys deal with ED,
then 1 in 4 guys should go on Roe.
Guys, connect with a provider at roe.co to see if you qualify.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
So, here is a before of my stomach before Sono Bello, and this is after.
This year, don't just lose weight, lose stubborn fat and sagging extra skin permanently at Sono Bello.
I wanted the results of the tummy tuck, but not the downtime.
We've helped over 300,000 people transform.
Do you want that flat stomach? You go get that flat stomach.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation. Our flexible payment options make it easy to get started today. Call or go to sonobello.com right now.
Omaha Steaks semi-annual sale is back. Save 50% site-wide on America's best steaks, chicken, burgers, and more. All backed by our 100% guarantee. Right now, you'll get 12 Omaha Steaks burgers free with your order. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV today.
Hey, Germany, it looks like you have a problem. Imported, I don't know, like 1 million or so Syrians over the last decade, and it's not working out too well. So for starters, the Syrian crime rate is 10 times higher than that of native-born Germans, accounting for 20% of suspects in violent offenses like assault, homicide, sexual offenses. Just for context, they make up less than 2% of Germany's total population because Germany doesn't deport them. Now, Germany is asking some of these Syrians to voluntarily leave, the ones that they put on benefits. Of the nearly 1 million Syrians there, a relative handful, about 6,000, would actually like to leave Germany and go back to Syria. Imagine how bad that has to be. But things are so bad that Syria has actually said, we don't want them back here. Germany, you have to keep them. It's kind of like with Egypt and the Palestinians, where Egypt was like, we're not going to take any of these refugees, and we border the damn country. Rob?
The epicenter of white guilt is Western Europe. Germany is one of the worst, obviously. Yeah. I mean, what they've just brought onto themselves, tragic. And to see how they try to deal with it is even worse.
Good luck.
Carl, good to see you.
Later.
All right, you.